Negentropy. Maybe you've heard of this word before, or maybe you've never seen it in your entire life, and you click this video out of curiosity of like, what is negentropy exactly? What is this word, and how is it going to change my reality so fast? I've never heard of it before. I'm glad you're here because this video is going to help you understand negentropy and just how important it is for your life. By the end of the video, the way you see changing yourself and reality will shift drastically. When I understood this topic at a very fundamental level, there were a lot of light bulb and aha moments that took off in my head. I was like, oh my God, this is so obvious, but there were things in the way preventing me from really integrating this insight, and it's probably the same for you. This insight is probably just below your nose. You're not seeing it enough or applying it enough to truly gain the benefits of negentropy. Now, I want you to picture this. You're in your country, in your land, and you likely follow the laws of your land. Well, at least I hope you do. Or, maybe to some degree, you follow the laws of your land. When you follow these laws, they're in place for a specific reason, to hold up a certain order to things. You can have your opinions of the law as you would like, but for the most part, laws are enacted by countries and statesmen and congressmen in order to have some sort of order, and it's enforced by police or law enforcement. Now, I'm talking about this because we follow these laws, these man-made laws, but it's so common for us to forget that there are universal laws that you could say the universal congressman or the universal statesman known as the universe or God has already created. And the universe enforces these laws, whether we know it or we don't. And oftentimes, maybe you ran into this, you have gone against these laws and you have been quote unquote punished for it. And you're wondering why the universe is punishing you. It's not necessarily punishing you, it's just upholding a certain order. And to your ego, it looks like punishment. Humans have laws to defend against human behavior and keep society somewhat safe and regulated. Nature has to keep order in the universe as well. If we look at the universe, we have different universal laws like cause and effect, the law of mentalism, the law of gender, the law of correspondence. Earthly laws that are relative to Earth, like the level of gravity we have here. You have water freezing at a certain temperature. When it comes to your basic human needs, you need food and water to survive. You could call that a basic law of survival. Food and water. When we look at science, it follows the scientific method in order to get consistent results in various science experiments, in various scientific studies. So if you see laws and rules shown everywhere around you, why would, when it comes to manifestation, it be any different? Because reality creation, manifestation is truly an art and a science, and there are certain laws and there's certain first principles you have to remember, and that's what you're going to really understand in this video in order to establish negentropy. But stick with me, I'm going to define this. In the realm of science, no laws are more exacting than those which govern the science of mathematics. An accountant, even when he fails immediately to solve a problem, knows it can be solved only by calling into operation the exacting laws that govern all mathematical calculations. Were those laws subject to change, the solution of mathematical problems would be utterly hopeless. At this point, you understand that laws and rules, whether they're man-made, universally made, or they're made by yourself, are there to establish some sort of order. And when you think of order, I want you to think of negentropy. Negentropy equals order, which equals coherence. Any system in your life, when I say system, I just mean any realm. It could be relationships, it could be your business, it could be creative pursuits, it could be your professional career, your fitness, your health, whatever. It's a system. There are certain inputs you do to get certain outputs. So when you think of order and you want to improve an area of your life, you have to think in terms of, how do I improve this system? How do I get more out of this system? How do I do more and or be more in order to get the most out of this system? Many of you run into the problem of hoping that the system gets better through sheer happenstance. And you forget the order that you can impose on the system and on yourself in order to see better fruits from it. Whether it be more love from that system, more money from that system, more spiritual growth from that system, whatever. Yes, it's a bit more nuanced than that, but that's basically the crux of getting more out of life. It's how can I add more order to things, whether it's to myself or this thing, in order to get more out of it. If you don't clean your house or apartment for a month straight, you'll see the real effects of entropy take place. And when I say entropy, it's the opposite of negentropy. Entropy basically measures the speed at which something decays or dies out or lessens in its optimal version. So when you don't clean your house for a long time, it naturally gets dirty. Same with your, like if you own a pet, same with your dog. Like if you don't wash your dog, it's going to smell. There's just gonna be more bacteria in its fur and the dog isn't gonna be smelling the best. It's also not great for its health. Taking care of yourself. If you don't shower, take care of yourself, apply deodorant, put on cologne, and all of that, maybe lotion, brush your teeth, you're going to see a rate of decay. You're going to see entropy take place. This is a natural phenomenon in the universe. Chaos and order are natural parts of the universe. There's a natural chaos and there is a natural order. Nature programs a cat to lick itself to stay clean. It's an automatic tendency. Our bodies produce chemicals for certain functions. Automatic tendency. For instance, we produce dopamine when we eat food to motivate us to eat more food to stay alive. Adrenaline pumps when we're in fight or flight, which makes us better at fighting or running. In my previous videos, I talked a lot about the law of polarity. Basically, when you look at two opposites, they are actually the same thing at different rates of vibration. So to get to the other side of it, you have to raise your vibration, you have to raise your awareness, or you have to raise your emotional signature. Just like if somebody is experiencing scarcity and they want to get to abundance, they need to raise their level of awareness and they need to raise how they feel about money and how abundant it is. When we look at entropy and negentropy, if entropy is the rate at which a system resorts to chaos, again, a system could be your relationship, business, your health, whatever, this would mean that negentropy is the rate at which a system gets more organized and better and more orderly based on input. Because entropy, there is no input to maintain a certain standard, but negentropy, there is something that is maintaining a certain standard. And that may be the problem you're running into in your life, is that you're not maintaining a certain standard in certain areas of your life to keep that structure up. You start a habit and then you stop. You want to focus more on positive thoughts, but then you stop. You stop following a certain personal rule of yours. When you break your own trust like that, it starts hitting your confidence, because if confidence is self-trust, if you're breaking your own self-trust, then how you feel about yourself, how confident you feel about yourself starts to get negatively affected by that. So entropy and negentropy are the same thing, just having different rates of vibration. They're at opposite poles. To be more orderly, to have more negentropy, you need to raise your vibration. Be more aware of your tendencies that lead to more entropy than negentropy. You need to be aware of the certain meanings you create out of circumstances in your life. You need to be aware of what's stopping you from staying consistent in taking actions. Maybe it's limiting beliefs that your subconscious still holds that you have to break down, right, and eliminate. It's important to obey a certain code or conduct in order to get the result that you want. Now, when some of you hear obey, you're probably like, man, I don't like obeying nothing, or like whatever. Like maybe you have a rebellious nature to you. But I want you to watch how you're defining obey, and I want you to be very mindful of your ego, because maybe some of you have just been disillusioned by society and obeying society all this time, and it has gotten you nowhere. And then when you hear the word obey, you think of like religion, you think of, you know, maybe a toxic relationship, or you think of just negative connotations with the word obey. So let's talk about the word obey so that you can actually apply negentropy way more effectively. This is a quote from one of my favorite books, Working with the Law by Raymond Holliwell. The word obey means to submit to rule or to comply with orders or instructions. Obedience then is the governor of all movement, whether it be mechanical, literal, or spiritual. A giant machine without its governor would tear itself apart, would be utterly destroyed because it failed to obey its own laws of momentum or gravity. An intellectual giant who fails to comply with the laws of learning will become as an idiot. A student failing to comply with or to obey the instructions of spirit, the law of God, will reverse the good and create evil. We are dependent entirely on obedience for our success or failure in this life. So there's a degree of obedience you're already following. So for instance, you watching this video, you need to have somewhat of an open mind to be able to even watch up until this point. You need to have your eyes open to kind of see my visuals and to see the picture I'm painting. You need to have your ears listening really in order to pick up the sound vibrations that I'm emitting. So there's a degree of obedience that you know you need in order to move your life forward, better yourself. If you drank water today, you're following certain laws of survival for your human self. If you meditated, you're following a certain practice in order to help you not identify with your ego mind, or to visualize your ideal life and incorporate your senses into it. You're obeying to a certain degree. It's just, what am I obeying, and is this going to add structure? Is this going to add negentropy or order to the system in which I want it to? And if it is, it's in my best interest to follow that thing. And if it's not, then it's in my best interest to not follow that thing, because that would lead to chaos. A big idea here with this video so far is to understand the importance of living your life in accordance with universal laws, with natural laws of the universe. And when you do this, you'll find yourself running into less headaches, running into less resistance, running into less things that hold you back. For instance, if you understand the law of vibration very well, you understand that your thoughts and emotions are things. They have a very direct impact on what you experience, people you meet, and also what you do and how you behave. So it's in your best interest to stay in a predominant vibration that is higher to match the life that you want. And this ties into identity. It'd be in your best interest to be orderly enough in order to embody an identity that is a match for the life that you want. Because if you let entropy take over too much by having a lower state of consciousness, because entropy is a lower state of consciousness than negentropy, it's vibrating at a lower rate, then that's where the chaos comes about. Because you're unaware, you're thinking negative thoughts and focusing on them and making them important, and you're identified with your negative emotions. And you haven't looked within enough in order to remove those subconscious contracts you signed throughout your life that has caused this idea of entropy being stronger. And I want to say that order and chaos are natural phenomena, but in your game of life, you have certain preferences and biases that you want. So there are certain areas of your life where you want to keep chaos to a minimum, and you want to keep order to higher. And there are certain areas of your life where you're more lax and cool about it. If it's a bit chaotic, it's not the end of the world. For instance, if you just started a family and things are a bit chaotic, and your significant other are new parents, and you're just adjusting to having a baby and starting a family and everything, yeah, there's gonna be some chaos, but you know that at some point it'll get more orderly. You guys are just learning how to adjust. So the practical is, how can I make my thoughts, my emotions, and my awareness more orderly? How do I organize my thoughts in a way that I can tell myself that I'm choosing these thoughts today, and I'm only focusing on these thoughts. And if negative thoughts come about, I'm just gonna allow them to pass by, because my orderly function as a system myself, I have certain instructions I wanna execute. And these instructions are a means to an end. For instance, you want to have a thriving business. If you wanna have a thriving business, it's in your best interest to focus on thoughts related to a thriving business. These are the instructions that your system needs to have. And it's also in your best interest to probably be in a very positive headspace day to day predominantly. So again, if your system, it would be in your best interest to focus on positive thoughts and remember positive memories. And if negative things come about, your system needs to be able to reframe things to see the positive in those negatives. If you're looking for your ideal relationship, it's the same thing. It's in your best interest to assume positive attributes to whoever you're talking to or dating. And it's also in your best interest to watch for the ways in which you get in your own way. When you create these rules for yourself and you obey them, all of a sudden you start seeing more order going on. But if you go against these rules or these first principles, you start keeping up the same things. Emotions. How can I feel emotions that add more value to me? And I think one of the best ways to do this is to visualize a future where you have the things you want and you're feeling those emotions predominantly. And you feel those emotions in present time so that you can start creating a memory. It's as if your future already happened and you're just remembering your future. And when you do this enough times, what you'll start to notice is that it's really easy for you to tap into that feeling. So the next time you visualize, it's even easier and easier and easier. And with your emotions, how can you let go of emotions that don't serve you? Maybe it's frustration, maybe it's a state of consciousness of apathy, maybe you have a victim complex. That is going to add a lot of chaos to this journey of you adding more order into your life so that you can structure your life in a way. And when I say life, I mean your inner system too, in order to get the things that you want. Because at the end of the day, if you're not orderly within, how can your life be orderly without? If we're talking about the law of correspondence, if we're following universal law here. But the ego will lie to you. It will tell you, oh, it's the world's fault. Oh, it's this person's fault. And I'm sure there are genuine instances where you've been wronged. I'm not saying that's not true, but I'm saying you have a lot of say in how things go moving forward. Awareness. How can I be more aware of instances where there is a lot of entropy? With that awareness, I can apply more order to that entropy so that the rate of decay slows down or is barely even noticeable. For instance, if you want to get better with your finances, probably in your best interest to read up on financial literacy, to save, to invest, to increase your income, these various things. You just have more awareness in that area of life so that you can add more order to it and it can grow. And by having this awareness, you can overcome your ego, which maybe doesn't like the situation, but you have to start somewhere. And this is a practice. The more you think in terms of being orderly, the better you get at it. It's like creating neural networks in your brain. Now, when I talk about negentropy, it's very easy to make the mistake of trying to be a perfectionist, of trying to be this type A, everything needs to be perfect, 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 perfect. That's not what I'm saying. Because again, chaos is still a natural part of the universe. Your ego may come in and try to tell you that, oh, we're not applying enough order, we're not applying enough order. But there are cases where chaos is a byproduct of sometimes order happening. For example, let's say you're very schedulally oriented, right? You've done the mindset work, emotional work, all of that stuff. And you're starting to see your life just get better and better and better. And you start adhering to a strict schedule. And let's say you want to play tennis, right? You're going to play tennis at 10 a.m. I like tennis. I think I'm pretty good at it. My girlfriend's watching this. She's probably going to be like, oh, you're not that good. I'm like, I think I'm pretty good. Anyways, let's say you schedule playing tennis at 10 a.m. and you're very structured. But what happens is that your ego has come in and you've made an identity out of being this very orderly person, which is nice, but it can have a drawback. Let's say it's a very heavy traffic morning and you're late to running tennis. Now by the time you get there, it's like 10:15, 10:20, and you're running a little bit late on time. If you're not aware enough, you may fall into the issue of being very emotionally bothered by being late to it and your schedule being thrown off. And now emotionally, you are unbalanced. So there are certain things that are outside of our control that happen, right? That we have to make sure we don't get so frustrated about, and then leading to us falling out of the state that we're trying to hold on to. An important insight with this topic is to understand that order and chaos are also not always immediate. Chaos can be delayed, negentropy can be delayed, and they can both be subtle, right? Just like going back to the frog in boiling water analogy I made in my previous video. If you put a frog in lukewarm water, it doesn't think too much of it, but then you turn up the temperature just slightly more, that rate of vibration gets higher and higher and higher in the water, and what happens is the water starts to boil. Steam starts to come about and the frog starts being cooked. That wasn't very noticeable to the frog at all, right? It just adjusted to the newer state. But then before I knew it, it was being cooked. I'll talk more about this topic very soon. Earlier in this video, I said that the universe has both natural chaos and natural order. When I talked about natural order, I made the analogy of the cat that licks itself to clean itself. It's just biologically programmed. It feels like it's getting dirty, it just licks itself and it's more clean now. You have natural tendencies as well to maintain order. Your body has natural tendencies, right? Your heart beats. You get the idea. The thing though is with negentropy, there are some things that lead to order that you have to program. It does not come naturally to you. For instance, if you grew up in an environment where your parents are very verbally and emotionally abusive, it may not come naturally for you to trust other people. So if you decide to look for your ideal relationship partner, or to look for a business partner, or to look for an ideal friend, you struggle with trust. So you would have to do the work of developing the ability to trust others in order to find that right person. Because what will happen is you will distrust others. You will focus, your RAS, reticular activating system, will focus on instances where people weren't really trustworthy, and that will confirm it. And you will attract people also that are untrustworthy. So Trust doesn't come naturally to you. You have to do the work of trusting, because that's a first principle of any relationship, in order to have order in that area of life that you want to have order in. Breathing to you comes natural, but trust, not so much. Just like someone else, they grew up in a loving environment with a lot of trust. Trust comes easily to them. They have amazing relationships. But if we talk about breathing, unfortunately, they were maybe born with some sort of lung condition that makes it difficult for them to breathe. So they may need assistance in the area of breathing. It just doesn't come natural. They need a system to help maintain order in the area of breathing. Hope you like that analogy. That was fire. That was just off the dome. Before I continue, my identity resonance program is open to new clients. If you're an entrepreneur, a creative, or a professional that's interested in embodying a newer identity for the life that you want, and you want a systematic approach to it, all the things you'll need, you can apply below using the form. This form is for consideration, and if you're a fit, happy to have you in the program. So that's the key insight. Some areas of your life you have natural order in, you have natural things you do to maintain order. And then some areas you have to consciously apply order in that thing. And when you program a new behavior, it becomes a default way of operating. This is when it becomes subconscious. This is when the learned behavior becomes automatic, right? Just like when you first started driving a car. At first, man, when I was first driving a car, I was nervous, especially on my driving lesson on the highway. You know, years ago, I was like, oh my, like I was holding on to that steering wheel. Like my brain was adjusting, was learning. I was forming neural networks for all the things related to driving. And nowadays when I drive, I mean, I can drive an hour straight and not really even think about it. My subconscious is just operating, and my conscious mind may be like, oh, I should make this video next, or oh, I gotta go here, or oh, that tree looks beautiful, like that type of deal. So if your life is a mess right now, it needs you to apply conscious order to it. You may not have the natural or subconscious inclination to apply natural order to it because, well, it's a mess. So that's why you need to develop that. If I want my ideal reality, I need to learn to apply order to chaos consciously and subconsciously. I need to have my personal laws and standards I abide by to maintain some order, just like there are man-made laws and universal laws that exist. And this requires something important from you. I need you to listen closely. This is going to require you to set boundaries with other people. Some of you that are people pleasers or that like to be on the good side of people, there's a chance that there are certain instances where you're not setting boundaries enough in order to have enough order in your life. Boundaries, you could think of them like cops, allow you to maintain the order. You know, set more boundaries. Maybe it's that friend that's taking up too much of your time, or that relationship partner that is not communicating in the best way. Or maybe it's that client or customer that always wants free stuff. You know, so like you have to set boundaries in order to have order in the system you want thriving. Like if you're a creative or a business owner of some kind, and you have boundaries around what you're doing, maybe you're just always giving away free stuff and your business isn't really making money. How are you going to run a sustainable business? How are you going to, you know, take care of the things you need to take care of, or feel that sense of safety in your purpose? You can't. Same with your professional career. If you feel like you're being underpaid and you're not willing to speak up for yourself in order to get a raise or to go to a different career job, then you're just gonna be living in this chaos. You know, you have to set that boundary in order to see the fruits that you want to see. So there are three major important areas for you to remember when it comes to negentropy and order. That's mind, your emotions, and your frequency as a whole. Here's a quote for mind. Quote, if we were to obey the spirit within us rather than the conditions about us, then the law requires us to think things into existence from the within before we shall see them on the without. As ye sow, so shall ye reap, which is mathematically accurate and true. If you plant a corn seed, nature does not make a mistake and bring forth a giant oak tree. On the same reasoning, if you plant thoughts of worry, the law you obey will give you something to worry about. It will produce more and more circumstances to increase your worries. So by not focusing on worries, you allow your thoughts to be more orderly towards the direction that you want. And this would also require focus on what you want. For emotions, learn to stop using your mind to add more importance to your problems. Oftentimes, we are in emotional flux. We have a lot of importance that we've attributed to something. A lot of, I want to get this out of this. I want to get that out of that. But this leads our ego to be so immersed and engaged in that thing that we end up not having the best of times, right? We start beating ourselves up. We start being very frustrated. And when we hold on to those emotions long term, it becomes more ingrained in us. Quote, you laugh at the troubles of little ones because you view them from their true value. To the child, his tiny task seems real and all important. And not until he outgrows his childish ways can he look back with amusement and not feel regret. Not until we can rise superior to our problems and our troubles can we ever hope to cease to have further troubles. There we go. In what areas of life are you acting like a child? And that's leading to chaos. And you have to look at it from a higher perspective, aka what? Higher awareness, a higher rate of vibration, in order to see the errors that you're making so that you can be more orderly. And that will help you see how petty a lot of your problems are. And you got to watch the ego, because it's going to come in and try to convince you that no, it's not petty. It's literally the end of the world. It's the most important thing ever. Heaven is a state of mind. Therefore, heaven is an orderly, disciplined, constructive state of thinking. To gain all things, we must first gain a disciplined, orderly, constructive state of mind. Have you a disciplined mind? Have you any dominating appetite? Are you emotional? Do you vent your feelings through impatience, temper, malice, hate, pride, envy, conceit, lies, dishonesty, and the like? Any of the negations as named, if controlling your thoughts will delay good from coming to you. Anything in life that dominates us makes us a servant to its dictates. All our weaknesses and our lacks are due to some compelling influence that blind us and keep us from what we naturally would receive, if we were free in mind to receive them. That's big. And like another point here with your emotions, are you able to accept situations for how they are? This could be another like orderly thing you do. Are you embodying radical acceptance, which is of course a key insight from the book Radical Acceptance by Tara Brach, PhD. What she says here is the following quote: we practice radical acceptance by pausing and then meeting whatever is happening inside of us with this kind of unconditional friendliness. Instead of turning our jealous thoughts and angry feelings into the enemy, we pay attention in a way that enables us to recognize and touch any experience with care. Nothing is wrong. Whatever is happening is just real life. Such unconditional friendliness is a spirit of radical acceptance. Exactly. So going back to my tennis analogy, if you're late to tennis, accept it 100%. And what you'll notice is that your system acclimates. Your system is like, it's okay. When we don't remember the spiritual concept of radical acceptance, we end up being in more turmoil than we actually need to be. And radical acceptance does not mean that you don't take actions to better the situation. It just means that you're not harping so much on the fact that the situation isn't currently how you want it to be. Especially when you're able to put more value in your mental realm than in your physical realm, you're able to see a potential more clearly of an instance where this given thing is solved, or it's not the end of the world, or things just go good afterwards. You get the idea. Another important topic around negentropy is the idea of energy centers and making sure you have order in your body, right? So order in the body means a calm nervous system, yes, but it also means balanced energy centers, balanced chakras. The root chakra dealing with your sense of foundation and security and your sense of meeting your basic needs. Is that balance? Are you doing meditations on that? Your sacral chakra, which deals with your creativity and sexuality and emotions and your connection with your emotions. Your solar plexus dealing with your willpower and confidence to face life head on. Your heart chakra dealing with your ability to experience joy and gratitude and to feel love and raise your vibration to be a match to the experiences you want. Throat chakra, your ability to tell your truth, share your truth to others. Honest communication. Third eye, intuitional hunches. Crown chakra, non-dual connection to the universe. When you do chakra practices, whether it's yoga or it's meditating on these energy centers, they start to become more balanced and more orderly. And when they behave more orderly, you can reap the benefits of these given energy centers. With the root chakra, you can meet your basic needs even better. Throat chakra, you can communicate your truth in the realm of career and business. Third eye, you can get these great intuitions on what to do next in your life. The solar plexus, if you struggle with confidence, you can feel more confident by having this more balanced. When you leverage the chakra system to your advantage, the level of order and negentropy you experience is off the charts. It's off the charts. But it takes consistent applications. It's one of the best things that I've done for myself in my life. Here's a quote from Eckhart Tolle in Stillness Speaks. What he says is the following: feel the energy of your inner body. Immediately, mental noise slows down or ceases. Feel it in your hands, your feet, your abdomen, your chest. Feel the life that you are, the life that animates the body. That's powerful because when we're in meditation, we're focusing on the body and we're no mind. We find that things get quiet because like 90% of the noise in our life is actually internally in our head, not from really the external world. It's really like all this chatter going up over here. The body then becomes a doorway, so to speak, into a deeper sense of aliveness underneath the fluctuating emotions and underneath your thinking. And the thing about energy centers is there are energy centers to help you balance your emotions a lot better. The root chakra, the sacral chakra, solar plexus chakra. And the thing about it is most people actually operate from these three chakras. Like society gets you to operate off these three chakras in a very imbalanced way. A lot of people feel like they don't feel very secure in their lives, whether it's related to the place they're living or finances or whatever. So their root is unbalanced. A lot of people are hypersexual, but their sexuality is very unbalanced, right? It's on overdrive. It's very hyper all the time. Not to say there's anything wrong with having a hypersexuality, but I mean, if it's all the time and compulsive, that can be problematic. People's creativity is blocked. People's confidence is blocked. People act from pride, but in a way that's not very stable, you know? So society gets you to operate off these lower chakras in a very disorganized way. And a disorganized body means a disorganized mind. A disorganized mind leads to a disorganized body. Feelings create thoughts, thoughts create feelings. Body feels feelings, the mind thinks thoughts. As I said earlier, chaos isn't always obvious. It can creep up on you. In business, it's common to see delayed effects of chaos 30 to 90 days later. Sometimes when you apply order in your business, it may not be reflected until 30 to 90 days later. It doesn't mean it's not happening. It's just not really being obvious just yet. That's why, they often say you're either growing or you're dying. It's like an old adage in the business world, basically saying if you're not applying measures to grow, the slope doesn't just stay the same. You don't just have this constant cruising, things dip. Maybe not immediate, but in a delayed way, in a way that you may not notice until 30 to 90 days later. And again, this applies to all systems. So when I say systems, I mean any area of life, any domain of life. There are things you're doing now that are going to have delayed effects. And this is the big thing with reality creation that messes people up is they pedestalize the physical world so much that they need synchronicities to happen fast. Like you started visualizing a week ago, you need synchronicities to happen right now. No. You need to pedestalize your future more than what the physical world is showing you and allow the physical world to catch up to you because it's a delayed reflection of things. So again, it's up to you at the end of the day. You're truly the one that gives yourself the synchronicities. You're truly the one that gives yourself the synchronicities. So stay on top of things. Learn to be orderly. All areas of life. You need negentropy or else you will suffer in unproductive chaos. Unproductive chaos meaning these lessons that you keep learning over and over and over again, you should have just understood it by now. You don't want to be in this hamster wheel of needing to learn the same lessons over and over and over again. You want to be a fast learner. And that's not going to be every area of life, but the more the merrier. The more order you can apply in your life, the more negentropy you have, and the faster your reality changes in the way that you want it to.